trade rumors have been swirling around Phoenix after the Rockets' recent moves, but Suns owner Mat Ishbia has doubled down on the franchise's intention of keeping their core together and running it back for another shot at a championship. Here's what Ishbia had to say. NBA draft night is the best. Everyone talking about the drama and storylines. Some are right and some are just wrong. My turn. Phoenix loves Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant loves Phoenix, and we are competing for a championship this year because we have the team to do it. Gotta love draft night. Go Suns. It's a party here in Bristol. We got Tim Legler joining us as well. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Good to see you.
With the blue suit there.
What's up?
Looking all dapper like he running for office. I thought it was just Wendy running for office. Look at legs now.
You want to vote for legs button? Vote for legs button.
We approve this message, legs. We approve this message.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
All right, Stephen A., are you buying Ishbia's comments about KD?
Hell no. Hell no, of course not. First of all, let's understand something. From what I'm being told, Kevin Durant ain't too keen on staying in Phoenix. He ain't demanding no trades or anything, but he wouldn't mind being up out of there. That's number one. Number two, don't tell me Mat Ishbia is all sold on this after you just got bounced out via a sweep at the hands of the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the daggone playoffs. You think about the assets that you could potentially get for a superstar the likes of Kevin Durant. You can't tell me that's something that Mat Ishbia is not going to entertain just because he's committed to him being in Phoenix. It all depends on the assets that you can get. I know they don't want to let go of Devin Booker. I know Devin Booker doesn't want to leave Phoenix. If he were to leave Phoenix, he wouldn't mind being a Knick, but he doesn't want to leave Phoenix. He's the face of that franchise, and we homegrown. We get all of that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. Kevin Durant, even at the age of 35, is still a superstar in this game. But he's not there for the long haul. And unless you talk about winning the title in the immediate future, which I don't think the Phoenix Suns should be thinking about when you just got swept, even though Mike Budenholzer is your new coach, I think the bottom line is you got to entertain all options. I'm not saying he's going to trade Kevin Durant, but if the opportunity presents itself, you're damn right he will.
Well, look, I think before I comment on this current thing that Mat Ishbia said, I want to revisit something because, Stephen A., to your point, let's go back to the end of the season. And I said this at the time, and it was a good line, and I'm going to use it again because I like it. Mat Ishbia said when they got swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves and run out of there, that, you remember the press conference? He basically said, no, we're good. It's never been better. Everything is great. And I compared that to a survivor of the Titanic saying it's the best cruise they've ever been on in their life. Okay? Because that's what it sounded like at the time. You're like, you were just sitting there listening to it in just total disbelief, right? You're going to believe him or my lying eyes. That's kind of what it came down to. So listen, we have a reason to be skeptical when he says certain things. But now let's get to these comments. I think this. If you're in that position of the Mat Ishbia is in, I think it's foolish to ever publicly go on the record with any of this stuff. Because first of all, in the NBA, the winds change in a hurry. Now, I don't have a reason to think that Kevin Durant is unhappy there or wants out there. Okay, so he says Kevin Durant's happy now. They're happy with him. He's not going anywhere. We're committed to him going forward. Like, why do you even need to do that based on any team? I think it's their responsibility to go out there, and you're always going to entertain conversations. So conversations should be entertained in this case, too. If somebody's willing to come to you and blow your doors off with an offer, you always need to be listening. So I don't even understand why a front office person has to go out there and say those kind of things. You can say those kind of things in private to Kevin Durant. And as long as there's an understanding there, that's all you really need to do. So the one thing I'll say about moving them, be careful what you wish for, because it's not easy to replace that kind of talent. And you still do have Devin Booker there. You got Bradley Beal. And you got to be careful what you get back if you start talking about moving a guy like Kevin Durant, who is still proving every night he is an elite level player in this league. They've got to work more on the margins around those guys, get him a point guard, get him some defenders on the wing, and get more shooting.
You know what? I call that tweet cap, right? I'm not saying that they're going to trade Kevin Durant, but the part of Kevin Durant loves Phoenix and Phoenix loves Kevin Durant, that's not true. They like each other. They like each other. But last year, Kevin Durant was pissed off. Kevin Durant, it was times where he was walking in the locker room and didn't say a damn word to anybody, including Frank Vogel. That was the beef, right? And when you have your top dog, your championship player, your finals MVP, a guy that done been there and won championships in that locker room who's supposed to be your leader, and he's not seeing eye to eye with the head coach, the rest are gonna follow. That's why Frank Vogel is gone. Now, I talked to my guy, James Jones, a good brother of mine, and I talked to him yesterday. He said that they're not trading Kevin Durant. They're not trading Bradley Beal. They're not trading Devin Booker. Not this season, right? They said that they feel like Mike Budenholzer is the right coach for them. They're going to give it a shot for us going into training camp and this season. And here's the thing, with all that going on with the Phoenix Suns, Legs, Christine, Stephen A. last year, they still won 49 games, right? And, like, they didn't even have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and KD available majority of the time. So you think about the Oklahoma City Thunder, what they won, 53 games, right? So they wasn't far off. Again, you want to engage Kevin Durant. And we have witnessed what coaches could do. The right coach in that seat, what they could do for a player. We just watched Kyrie Irving turn the corner, right? Because Jay Kidd, a guy that he respects, right? Organization that has catered to his every need and made him feel comfortable. They got the best version of Kyrie Irving. We hear reports about how Derek White and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, how they're saying like Joe Mazzulla has been so impactful outside of basketball in their lives. Mike Budenholzer is a champion. So you got to respect that. I know Frank Vogel was a champion, but that was not someone that KD wanted. I believe that they're in a great place right now.
If somebody kicked in the door with a blockbuster offer, wouldn't you trade him then? I mean, to sit up there and say, we ain't trading him this year, that's not a statement you should make as an executive. I mean, to me, it's like, listen, we have no intentions of trading him. We have no intentions of moving him. You know what I'm saying? We like our team. Let's see how it goes. That is as far as you could go, particularly in this business climate that we're living in. Ain't nobody buying that. That's number one. Number two, when you talk about an engaged Kevin Durant, Kendrick Perkins, put KP up on that screen, please. I want to see him. When we talk about an engaged Kevin Durant, who you think you talking to? Let's not be slick, Kendrick Perkins. Kevin Durant on the basketball court is always engaged. He's a superstar, one of the greatest offensive players this game has ever seen, destined for a surefire first ballot Hall of Fame and belongs in that first room in the Hall of Fame. This brother's spectacular. But when we talk about engaged and we use the name Kevin Durant to address engaged, we're talking about the dude that can be teammates with people and not speak to folks for weeks at a time, not speak to the coach weeks at a time, not even want to get on the team bus with the starters, you know what I'm saying? With the that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about little nuggets of things. And I'm only looking at you, Kendrick Perkins, not because you don't know, but because you do know better than me. You know it. That we're talking about a guy, regardless of his magnificence, and boy, is he magnificent as a player. But despite that, we're talking about a guy that can find other ways, unintentionally, by the way, to just alienate others because he's living in his own world. That's what we're talking about.
But S.A., let me say this to you. When it comes down to James Jones, how much respect do you have for Pat Riley?
I have great respect. I have profound respect for Pat Riley, and I have great respect for James Jones.
Right. Especially, when it comes. So if Pat Riley was to call you and tell you that he's not trading Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, you'll believe him, right?
No. Pat Riley will tell you that. Pat Riley go like this. Pat Riley knows I would say to him, yeah, that's how you feel today. He knows I would say that.
Here's what I'm saying. The one thing, I shared a locker room with Champ. That's what we call James Jones. He grew up and was raised and mentored in that Heat culture. The one thing I know about him is that he's straight up and down. It is what it is with him. And what you have to realize is that Kevin Durant is a top 15 greatest player of all time, Legs.
Yep.
Christine. He's arguably still today the best offensive player in the league, right? When it comes down to getting the butt. People are going to knock at the door. if they hear that he's disgruntled, if they hear that he's having mood swings, wouldn't you be knocking at the door if you was the Houston Rockets? But it takes two to tangle. What I'm saying is that they're not entertaining those people. Not now. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen at the trade deadline or at the end of the season.
But that's all I said, Perk. I said when he said we're not trading him this season. I'm saying you don't know, meaning James Jones. You don't know that. You can say right now, but you don't know if that's going to last the whole season based on what may transpire and what offer you might get. That's all I'm saying. Nothing more.
Which is why I said what I said in the beginning. I just don't even understand why certain statements even need to be made publicly.
Right.
Because you don't know how the wind is going to change. And everything could change based on one phone conversation where some team calls you, picks up the phone and makes you an offer you never saw coming. So I don't think you paint yourself into corners by doing that. Here's one thing. Can I give you guys one reason that we should have hope in Phoenix this year?
Sure.
Mike Budenholzer. We barely touched on it, okay? Now, you look at some of the coaches like that Kevin Durant has had in the past, and there was always like questions and skepticism and everything else, including Frank Vogel, who I love, and a guy that has won in this league. But there was a lot of skepticism from day one. That should not be there with Mike Budenholzer. And I think he's got great regard from the players around the league. He's a great communicator. He's got great rapport with his guys. He's a champion. I think he's also a guy that's going to understand how to max out the parts that they have. So I'm hopeful with more continuity amongst their stars and Mike Budenholzer. I'm more hopeful for Phoenix right now going into the season, certainly than I was at any point over the last 3 months of the season last year.
Here's the last thing we can say. Mike Budenholzer is going to be in Phoenix longer than Kevin Durant.
Let me ask you, hold on, time out. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
If you know the things that's been going on behind the scenes with the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant and why he disgruntled, I know him. You don't think the rest of the league knows him? Right now, how do you, like, what is
That's a good point. Good point.
So what is Kevin Durant trade value right now? I could sit up, to be honest with you, I could say that a team wouldn't give up a package that the Knicks just gave up for Mikal Bridges for Kevin Durant.
I agree with you,
at this point
Perk.
of his career.
Perk. I agree with you. I can't argue. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Perk. You're right. Legs, I agree.
Yeah,
I think you agree with that too. Perk makes a good point.
Along those lines, here's where you guys are both making a great point. This is true now. When you start talking about trading a player like Kevin Durant, first of all, he's only going to be a guy that's of high value to a team that feels like they're close.
That's
and
right.
the reason they're close is because some of the younger pieces that they currently have, which is what it's going to cost you to get them. And so now you've taken your organization that you think's moving in the right direction. You think he's the guy to get you over the top. The problem is you've got to give up key pieces of what you've already built to that point to get him, and that's where the risk comes in.